pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we'll be looking for approval of the minutes.
Move it. Second.
First and second. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. First up, we have a resolution appointing director for real property.
Move it. Second.
That's a yeah. Do you have anything to say?
Thank you too, again.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion?
No, she does a great job. I mean, I deal with that office quite frequently, and her people are extremely accommodating, polite, very professional. I'm selling.
I think it's sold.
Yeah, but you're a good person. I'd like to see it back.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving along. Thank you, Betsy.
You're
Thank
stuck.
you.
That's
Okay, we have a resolution authorizing transfer and foreclosure properties to Oswego County to Land Bank Corporation. Kim, do you have anything to speak on that?
Well, you'll see on your list that they are considerably less properties than we asked for last year. So I thought I just would give you a little bit of background as to, I'm gonna take one, pass it around, as to what we've kind of done here in the last 2 years. It'll kind of give you a little bit of an explanation as to why those are less properties. So to date, in other words, in the last couple years, we have done 24 rehabs. That includes 6 partials and 6 what we call enforcement mortgages, 28 demos, and we have 8 rehabs currently in process. And we've had sales of a little over $1 million. Now, last year when I would have come and reported, it would have been probably at about half of that rate, so that's doubled. The reason that the land bank isn't asking for as many properties this time is because it looked very favorable for us for our 2019-2020 grant year to go into 2019 carrying a little bit of inventory, which represents the 8 rehabs that we currently have in process. So there's where 8 of them come from, but I thought it would be just interesting to kind of point out where other properties come from that the land bank rehabs and demos. We have relationships with both of our cities, City of Fulton, City of Oswego. We have 3 pending properties coming in from the City of Fulton that will go into our inventory this year. The City of Oswego, we have pending properties that will come into our inventory also. We have received a couple of bank donations that are part of those 24 rehabs, and that's primarily been Pathfinder Bank. Other organizations, we have about 5 properties that'll be coming into our inventory this year from other sources like NCST or National Community Stabilization Trust. What's really appealing to us about that is usually there is some type of a money leverage that they also give us that we can leverage with our own money. So it'll range from about 20 grand per property to up to 45,000, and then we can leverage it also with some of our own money. And we've also had a rehab that we've done that was gained from a private individual, which turned out to be a really nice piece of property. So in short, that's about where we end up now, but I just wanted you to know why those are fewer properties on your list. We kind of made up for it, I would say, last year when we came in and we asked for, I think, 22.
make a motion to move the 6 properties to the land bank from our auction. I think that the one in Hannibal particularly, I know I've been involved with. I think it's something that's really needed, and it's definitely going to have a huge impact on that neighborhood.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have a first and second? Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Please, you first.
Thank you. Just a quick question. First of all, the sales, that's gross sales, correct?
Mhm.
What's the net?
Well, net probably is closer to I have to really look that up to actually tell you, but you can, some properties you might recoup what you put into them as far as rehab. Some you may make a very small cap on, it might be 15%, it might be 20. We are, through our grant sources, capped at 15% for the total of 80% of our funds. So it really just kind of depends on property, what you can make. And with some of the condition that we get them in, there are some that, you know, you end up a little bit upside down on.
And that's actually my second question. I looked at some of these properties online and they're assessed at higher values than properties that have been brought to us before, and they seem to be in much better condition than the properties that have been brought to us before. I'm just kind of curious about the choices.
Well, I'll tell you, on that list, there are 2 that are definite demos. And those always, for the most part, always end up upside down, because it'll cost us just on the work itself, probably around 10 grand for the demo, a couple grand for air monitoring. So by the time you get into a demo on an average size house, you're probably looking at 14, 15 grand. If the house obviously is bigger, your costs go up. So we do have 2 demos on there, which leave us with the rest being rehabs. And we tried really hard this year to come up with some type of a format and timing that would allow us to get into the houses ahead of time so that you know what it is you're walking into. Because visually you have really very little idea when you're looking at the outside. You can look at the roof, you can look at the foundation, and then you can walk in and say, whoa, this really wasn't what I was expecting. So it's a little difficult to tell what is going on inside those houses. We pretty much class houses as A, B, C, or D. I would say that those that are going to be rehabs are really classed as Bs, but we'll know better when we get inside them.
Ed, you got something?
Yeah, it kind of leads me into what I was curious about. There's one in Richland that's a demo, the burnout.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grasp the logic of why you would want that property. Why did that one show up?
Well, that one showed up because one thing that's very, very important for the land bank is to be able to have an impact on the property that is around it. And as you know, that's an extremely beautiful home that's next door to it. So not only does his value decrease, now at the end of the summer, I was sitting out on my deck one Sunday night and I get a no caller ID call, and I answer it because I know a lot of times that could be the police, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but they have my number obviously. So I answered it, and sure enough, it was on that house in Richland. So people, and this is just a whole nother set of problems that comes when you have abandoned property, which are things that we need to take care of. They had pitched a tent in the back of the house. They were pilfering everything from the downstairs. The trooper says to me, I can't really find who owns this. So I said, well, I can tell you the land bank doesn't own it yet. The county doesn't own it yet. Let me just go on my personal computer and see if I can find the last person of record. I mean, their hands were absolutely tied, and these people were frantic. And they called me on Monday, by the way. But that's one of the reasons that we would approach that house.
So we've got some squatters there that I've been called to. They're actually grandchildren, deceased. The county owns the property now, so we can actually run them off. The sheriff should be able to run them off now. But you're going to encounter $14,000 to your own admission. It's probably going to be an upside down deal when this next door landowner is interested in the property. So it won't go up for auction, right?
Correct.
So it won't go back on the tax roll.
Well, it will go back on the tax roll at some point
When
because
it's purchased.
when it's purchased.
And what's the average turns on a piece of property? How long is its tax idle?
Demos are very fast. I mean, as soon as I get a demo, as soon as I do the paperwork, I could have a place down. It's a matter of, I know that individual, because I've already reached out to him, the neighbor, I know he's very interested in having that down and having that parcel. and we'll see how we can work with him on that. That's one other advantage when the land bank takes properties. Land banks, just by the way they're legally set up, have much more control over what happens to property than opposed to, for instance, when it goes to the county tax auction. But we account for that in our budget. We know that we have so many properties that we're going to demo, and anybody who's done, you know, a very long drive around all of Oswego County knows that we wouldn't run out of properties to demo, but it's just nature of the beast. It's just something that you have to take on.
What's a $14,000 take
And you'll gain something back, but like I said, we account for that in our budget.
You all said it? Richard?
Kim, the ones that we have improved and sold and demoed and things of this nature, do we keep any vital statistics on what the neighborhood itself, because the value of the neighborhood, if you take down a house that's, whatever the reason, it's dilapidated, it's burnout, it's whatever, that has an effect on the neighborhood, and it should rise the value of that neighborhood. Do we ever keep the statistics of the assessed value of that neighborhood, how it's changed?
So we know what the assessed value is when it comes into our inventory. We could look up what the assessed value increases. For example, here, East 9th Street here in the city is a good example. That was a house that we took down. It was a demo. And it took us a while to sell that lot, but a new build went up. So obviously that would be an assessed value that would be an incredible increase. I think with this land bank being so young and only having done this for 2 years now and getting things back on the tax rolls, it's gonna take a little bit of time to have that type of information. But I definitely agree, I think you have to have that, not only to know what that parcel in particular did as far as an increase in assessed value back on the tax rolls, but what it did to neighboring values as well.
As far as a neighbor purchasing the lot next door, which I don't have any problem with, I'm familiar with this myself. It's just something we have to look at, that's all. Not that we're gonna stop it, but to do the right thing, just to look at it. Like, for example, Ed just brought up the fact that there's a house up in his area, it's gonna be demoed, the neighbor is interested in purchasing a lot. Now, if the neighbor is astute at all, he's gonna come in when he's done purchasing it, see Betsy and get a lot line change. By doing a lot line change and then combining it, there's not gonna be a heck of a lot of assessment increase on that either. Because it just is the way the real property laws go, and I have no issue with that, but, you know, this is something we have to keep in mind.
Rich?
I was just going to point out on blighted or tax delinquent property outside the cities, the assessing units of town, and they have this incentive to lower the assessment if the county makes it full on delinquent tax. So frequently you will see a higher assessment on a property that had a fire, it's not dropped in subsequent year. And that's also tax delinquency, so no insurance. So the land bank has to deal with that situation as well, and they know what market value is there.
Any other questions? Okay, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a resolution authorizing the 2019 next property auction.
I'll move that.
First and second, discussion. Kevin, you
No, this is the same list that was presented back in March, except minor, some few buybacks that took place. Went through the courts August 9th, so you have the latest and greatest. It's gonna be October 5th at Mexico High School. And some good premium properties. The brochure should be out, and I talked to the auctioneer about one more week. And then we'll start on brochures, will be online, Collar City auction online. And that's the easiest and most effective way to get to your constituents when they call you. Just go right on Collar City, and it will have all pictures and layouts of the properties that are up for auction. Yes, Terry?
So, they must have put the wrong sign, that was all I could guess, but, J.W. Pritchard's estate for his former house. This auction's gonna be at the Schenectady Community College.
Yeah, they probably put the wrong one.
Because I've had 3 calls on that already, because there was some
That actually-
IRS stuff at one time. So
Yeah, and that actually is an interesting property because that's 95. And we've been sitting on that, holding it since 1995. We finally, because of no rhyme or reason that I know of.
Wow, there's a lot of state
There was-
issues that
yeah.
held it out.
We actually have an estate that goes back to 87 also on here that we're bringing up. So we're cleaning up a lot of the older properties. So Betsy said she'll handle
She'll change the sign.
and they could go if they want to go down there, but
Well, that's what I told them. Well, this connection is good.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you, Kevin. Let's see, next up, we have a resolution approving and offering support for the consolidation of vital statistics, registered districts.
Go ahead.
Second.
Just a second. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, next we have a resolution authorizing extending professional service contract with the county clerk.
I'll move that. I'll second it.
So Mike, do you have anything on that?
No. This is just extending the contract with Steve Goodfellow of Access Systems. I think a lot of you know, Steve has worked with us for several years, trying to build a better records management program for the county. We were successful in achieving a grant from the State Archives this past year. We'll be looking to implement that in 2020. Steve's currently working with a number of departments to help clean out our records management functions. Just take a trip down to our basement of this building and you'll see a significant improvement from what it once was to what it is now. We'll be continuing to work on that the next several years. This is not going to be a quick shot project. It takes time to undo it all, but we're getting there.
All right, thank you. Yes, Scott.
Just a question for the county administrator. This $128,000 that we're moving out of the Development Efficiencies Fund, that's the money that we reallocated to the account this year, right? We ran dry, and then this year we moved full capital project balances to it. Correct? We had
Yeah,
reflection.
we did put more money into it this year, but this 128 was actually set aside last year. It's
Oh,
part
it
of
was.
the original
So-
allocation to the fund.
So this 128 stems from the old grant money as opposed to money that we moved. Okay.
So this isn't a new allocation of money that hasn't, it's, they've only spent, what, 57 or something like that out of that 128 originally, so that
Okay.
money's there to
Okay.
extend that kind
Glad I asked that question.
Terry, that's it.
Yeah, as Michael alluded to, I know that Steve has done a tremendous job in the public safety departments, sheriff's department is just, we're going leaps and bounds in the right direction with filing, especially the district attorney's office. I mean, we've had, for years, we've had basically cubicles made out of boxes of files, and now those cubicles are getting smaller, which is good, and we're starting to organize stuff the way it should be. So
We're getting there.
I commend him for the work he's doing with those departments.
Thank you.
All right, first, second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have a resolution authorizing entry into an option purchase agreement with Egyptian Aviation. Acquisition of the hangar and establishment of capital project. Motion second. Brandon?
This is actually an excellent opportunity for the airport. We've been trying to attract a lot more jet traffic to the airport in recent years. We don't have any hangar facilities large enough to accommodate any jets at this point. This individual has decided to sell a new hangar that he's constructed. Due to our new lease structure, we have the right of first refusal if the tenant decides to sell. This gives us an excellent option to accommodate all those jets. If they come in inclement weather, they want to be inside if there's any chance of wind, rain, hail, snow. A lot of times they'll divert to Syracuse because we cannot accommodate. We can do de-icing, but still if any damage is done to the aircraft, de-icing is obviously not going to fix that. So Syracuse will allow them to hangar inside. We don't have that capability right now. There was actually a study done, I think it was in 2007, that the airport will need 14,000 square foot of indoor heated space for aircraft. We haven't been able to afford that. This timing is right for this, for the tax money.
Anybody else have any discussion for us?
Yeah, I'm not a member of the committee, but you gotta realize that these jets and aircraft that come in there, most of them are from our biggest, people that pay the most taxes, new plants, novellas, people like that. The service we give them, Brandon's done a great job in that respect. Be able to put their plane inside and stuff like that. We're helping the biggest taxpayers to have something come to our airport. Plus it helps him sell fuel and also take advantage of the overnight charges. It's not something we're giving to them free, it's being paid for, but they got
Yeah,
the
there's
service.
fees associated with the overnight stays and the monthly hangar rentals.
Yes.
Go ahead.
There you go.
Okay. So that's a pretty hefty price tag,
It is,
obviously.
Yes.
What are the fees? How long would
We
it
haven't
take for
developed
us
the
to-
fee structure yet, but we're looking at, for one jet, which the gentleman bought, and wherever they base it when they buy the jet, that county gets the tax money. We weren't able to accommodate that jet when he bought it, so it went to Rome. They got the tax money. So we're looking at, around $1,000 a month for a small jet, which is the one that we would have as a base tenant. $200 overnight for a helicopter, $400 overnight for a jet.
So it would take quite a while to recoup our
It will,
costs.
yes, yeah.
I feel like it's a huge opportunity cost to.
We did have a price from our engineering firm. It would cost us around $2.2 million to build something exactly like that.
That makes sense.
Terry?
Well, this is our way that we can actually recoup some of the funding from the tobacco securitization money that was put out there. That, yeah, we're helping to do long-term projects, but this is a way to get that 852,000 back. So I think
Yeah, and
it's
it'll
an
have a
investment.
50, it'll have a 50-year lifespan
Yeah.
on the building too, so.
Brandon, I think this is a great opportunity investing into our future. I know it's a lot of money, but you couldn't build that building anywhere near that.
Exactly.
I've been involved in the construction part of it, and it's a good investment, period. It's something we have to look at outside of the box to raise revenue besides going to the taxpayers all the time. And that's, I'm fully behind this.
I definitely agree. It also, with aircraft that we bring in, we also get the associated fuel sales, which we make good money on fuel sales, especially jet fuel sales when they're 800-gallon fuel sales, 14-gallon fuel sale. We do make good money off of that. So
Yeah,
this,
and a
this
lot
is
of people
great.
don't realize how much a jet costs.
I don't
They're
know
huge
taxes
money.
on $6 million to buy
Yeah.
an airplane, but we lost out on that.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I used to get a lot of phone calls about the regular planes coming in, and I haven't gotten one with all the jets coming in. It's like, is it music to their ears or what?
It's, I think people are getting a little more used to having airports. It's only been there since the 40s.
Yeah, and they built their houses there, but.
Terry, can you explain to me when you say we can get the tax money back? We can use tax money on any long-term project that falls in the criteria, right?
You can, but you only have a certain percentage that you can actually recoup the funding out of.
Yeah,
Explain
Larry,
it.
he's obviously not picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah,
It was wonderful that we got, $18 million from the tobacco companies. And again, that's important. This isn't tax money, this is coming from tobacco companies. But it was caveats as to how they could be used. Unfortunately, only 5% of it could be spent on any project that was like a private-public partnership where there'd be private use of a facility. It had to go into things like bridges and buildings that the public generally uses. Only 5% could go into something like a hangar that we would, with the principal use as a private party, like through a lease, like we do as we lease a jet. So we had that 5% window to use some of that money to, on a project that would generate revenue in which private entities could use.
So were we, if I can follow up, were we mandated to use that 5% for private projects, or could it go to public?
It could have gone entirely,
Right.
but as it is, we found it was hard to come up with things that we needed.
It's an IRS rule that you can't have more than 5% on these, for the tax exempt status of the bonds.
Right.
So that's where that threshold comes in from the underwriters. It's not required, but you can't exceed 5%.
So basically what we're doing, one of the mandates that the legislature has given to us is to increase the operational revenue of the airport to get it closer and closer to being entirely on its own. And if you can use tobacco company money to purchase a hangar that increases your operating revenue of the airport anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 a year, that's a big step closer to that.
Okay, I follow you.
Break even point.
Yep, I follow the logic. Thanks.
Morris?
I just want to bring one point. When these guys come in overnight, they stop in Syracuse where they have the facilities. They come here. They use enterprise rental, car rentals and all that are local. Restaurants are local, hotels are local. So these people come here, whoever they are. They spend money in our business community, which is good.
We are currently losing a lot of activity to Syracuse due to the lack of indoor space in Oswego. We definitely want to increase the jet traffic here. This is the perfect opportunity to get closer to that. It would be a tremendous help to it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Ed?
Well, we have an airport, and as Phil mentioned, the closer we can get to it sustaining itself, that's just one fact. But, the crossover to economic development I think is critical. It shows, Oswego is serious. We're in business to attract businesses.
All works together.
And, I know it's a lot of money, but I think it's part of our attitude towards economic growth.
Exelon was so excited about this. Exelon was so excited about this opportunity. They actually put it in their national newsletter that they will be able to hang it indoors as we go now.
Phil, were there other opportunities that we looked into for investments that will also the 5% get this revenue back?
This is the only one we identified that we could generate
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next up, we have an agreement of distribution of proceeds for tax foreclosure in the state of Charles.
This is a standard agreement with DEC regarding tax foreclosed property in Phoenix, former gas station. There's an environmental cleanup lien. The proposal is 50-50 split at auction from the proceeds. DEC will hold the buyer basically harmless from any future environmental related to the purpose of the cleanup. Provided it's arm's length, if it goes back to, if it went back to the family or someone who's involved with the spill, that doesn't apply. And just for reference, we're in the process of getting a similar agreement on the Mays gas station for us to describe the fire department after Highway completes their cleanup out there for purposes of getting that hopefully back on the rolls, and that is a tank issue as well. These gas stations are problematic. The Bush gas station, across from Fred Haynes, has been sold, is not productive, and we wouldn't be able to do that without the cooperation of DEC. That had a much larger need.
Do we need
a motion?
Yeah, you need a resolution on this, actually, so it would be nice.
Authorize the resolution stating just what the county attorney did with this agreement.
Have a first and second, do we have any other discussion? These persons are-
Just review the minutes. I don't wanna miss anything here.
Any other discussion on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Which you had a executive session.
I have a question, executive session on, county litigation, stuff with the county of Oswego, and, you wanna talk about Mexico, versus Texas, as well, we do that.
Make a motion.
Second. All right, first and second. Executive session. All in favor?
Aye.